This podcast is part of the Spoon Podcast Network, home of smart conversations that feed your mind.
Hi, I am Amy Wu, and welcome to Women Innovators in Food and Farming, where I spotlight some of the entrepreneurs behind the innovations shaping the future of food and farming. I'm an award-winning journalist specialized in writing about innovation in the world of agriculture. I am really excited to have with me today our guest, Wendy Ulrich from Radical Agronomics. I'm going to share a little bit about Wendy, and then we're going to jump right into our conversation. So Wendy is a product specialist for Radical Agronomics. It's the world's first fully automated soil lab, revolutionizing the agricultural nutrition management cycle. She has a really strong background in agriculture, and she collaborates in her job closely with the engineering team to enhance their products and ensure that customers have all the tools they need for success. She comes from a farming family. I'm really excited to hear those stories, and brings well over a decade of experience in agriculture. She is really well equipped to understand and address the needs of the farmers and customers. So, Wendy, it's very exciting to connect
Thank
with
you,
you.
Amy. I'm so
Very, very
excited to be
exciting.
here. So excited. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I understand that you grew up on a farm. Tell me a little
Yes.
bit more about that. Where are you? What farm? Where are you from? And what was that like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up at a farm in central Illinois. So corn and soybeans. We didn't really have much livestock other than a few pets and the normal farm animals. And I grew up with three brothers and two sisters, so a fairly large family. And was always involved with outdoor activities, gardening, of course, walking beans to pick out ornery weeds, that type of stuff. But I wasn't really involved in the day-to-day farming operation. But I grew up loving to be outside, loving the outdoors, and growing things in general.
Oh, that's really great. Thanks for sharing. So, generations of a farmer come from generations of
Yeah,
farmers, and
yeah.
what was that like?
I
Yeah.
don't really know how far back it goes. I haven't thought about that for a while. But yes, my dad farms, my grandpa farms, as well as his grandpa. So yeah, for as long as I can remember, farming has been in the family, and my three brothers all farm with my dad on the family farm still here in central Illinois. And I'm now married to a farmer. So, still in central Illinois. My husband also has cattle, so cow calf operation. We're in the middle of calving season right now, and I'm still getting to be involved with agriculture and the farming industry every day.
Thank you. Can you share a few maybe favorite memories or memorable memories of growing up on a farm? I mean, what did you do on the farm? I'm assuming everybody, it was all hands on deck.
Yes, absolutely. So, that would be definitely like where I learned to drive tractors, obviously. In the fall, I would run like tillage equipment quite a bit. I really enjoy doing that. We grew up selling sweet corn. We live off a fairly like busy road, at my farm place, my home farm was. And so, I have lots of maybe not so great memories, but memories of getting up early in the morning and picking sweet corn. So definitely learned how to work hard. And I don't really regret it. Kind of regretted it in the moment, but I don't anymore. So
Mm. So, what career were you interested in as you kind of went through high school and looked towards the next chapter after high school?
yeah, so even growing up with that farming background, for some reason I didn't really understand how many jobs were available in agriculture or really see myself in ag. And kind of how I got into the ag industry was it was my senior year of high school, and we had the opportunity to what we called co-op. So we would leave school for half a day and work in an industry somewhere for school credit. So I knew I wanted to do that, but I knew I didn't want to work for my dad. And so I asked my mom what other options or if she had any ideas. And at that point, I was thinking like some type of office job, maybe. I knew I kind of wanted to work with people. I still wanted opportunities to be outside, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And So my mom was like, "Oh yeah, there's this local dealership, and they were looking for somebody in the office. Let me call them and see if they're interested." So she did, and he came back and was like, "No, we don't need anybody in the office, but we really need somebody in the shop." And I was like, "Okay, sounds good." So I remember the first day, it was like the interview, and they had this planner pulled out, and they're like walking me around it, like, "Oh, we put on V-Drive and Delta Force and VSET," and they're like naming all of these things that probably sound just as foreign to you as they did to me in that moment. I had no idea what they were talking about. Um, but I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I loved it. I loved being so hands-on and realized I have so much of a passion for the way technology can help farmers do better, can help the agronomy side of things, and how just like agronomy and technology interact together. So I ended up really loving it, but it's not what I expected. I kind of fell into it accidentally.
So the shop, correct? Is this a
Yes.
equipment for
Yeah.
agriculture or
Yep, all of the above. So it was a family farm, so they had their own farming operation. They were also a seed dealership, so they sold seed, and then also a precision planting dealership. So Precision Planting is the parent company for Radical Agronomics, where I work now. And what I spent a lot of time at first doing was custom building planters. So like from the ground up, the full planting machine, the bar, the row units, all of the technology on it. And really like getting to install the components that go on a planter was a really great way to learn how the system works, what the pieces of technology are. And I got to do a lot of different things because their operation was a farm and a seed dealership and a tech dealership. So it was a really good way to experience some different areas.
I'm hearing that that is a passion of yours. I mean, when you grew up on your family farm, I'm hearing that you really enjoyed working with like the equipment, correct?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was just
just
thinking I do miss coming home and get from work and just being like covered in grease and oil. Now I come home work covered in dirt, which is still awesome. But I did not realize how much I would love the mechanical shop work, like shop tech type of things. That is not something I picture myself doing. I didn't know I was capable of it.
so you did not imagine yourself that you would be covered in grease, is what you're saying.
No, I did not. No.
So, how did that lead you to in the world of ag tech, and how do you define ag tech, by the way? I mean, that's a word that we hear a lot now, ag tech. But what's your definition of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say ag tech is any and all technologies helping farmers do their job better. And I know farmers is maybe limiting agriculture a little bit because agriculture is so much more than just farmers, but it starts with the farmers. So, and that can be everything from data management to the technology on the equipment, and everything else that makes our lives more efficient and more effective.
And you ended up going from the farm, maybe working on the equipment, correct, into the world of radical agronomics, or should I say, was there anything before radical
Yeah,
agronomics in the
yeah.
world of innovation? You could tell that
Yeah, so
chapter.
I worked for the dealership for 4 years, so during high school and my college time. And then there wasn't really a growth opportunity for me since it was a family-owned business. So there wasn't really a great option for me to continue to grow there. So I knew that I loved precision planting. I loved the technology that they had. Since what we do, I guess I should stop and explain what precision planting is. So precision planting sells mostly retrofit technology. So that's technology that can be installed on the equipment after the factory, after it's already been used. So it doesn't have to be brand new from the factory technology. Farmers can use what they already have and just make a slight upgrade to it.
Uh-huh.
So that's what our dealership that I worked for sold. And so I was familiar with some of that technology. I liked the company. I liked what they stood for. And so I got an internship with them and then started working full time in 2020 as a support tech there. So I worked with the planner side of things for quite a while. And then about a year and a half ago, I had the opportunity to join the Radical Agronomics team.
Let's talk a bit about the chapter of the Radical Agronomics. I mean, what do you do at Radical Agronomics? I know about your title, but let's tell
Yeah.
folks a little bit about what does that mean? What does a day to day look for you?
Yeah, so like you briefly mentioned, Radical Agronomics is a fully automated soil lab. And our goal is, well, that's one part of Radical. That's the Radical Lab. The goal of Radical is to revolutionize the nutrient management industry. So bringing better tools and better data to farmers around nutrient management. So what does that mean my day looks like? Today I was working on the labs, so reviewing some of the data that was coming from them, trying to troubleshoot some different issues, some data that looked abnormal, but then also like strategic planning for the future. Like, what's this look like? How do we get this out to farmers? Because we're still in kind of the beginning stages of our commercial life cycle. So I get to work with the engineers with the technical side of things, but also work with the sales team and help think about what this looks like for farmers and end users to interact with.
Wow, I want to go back to the nutrient management aspect of
Yeah.
it. Share a little bit more about how that works actually for farmers.
Yeah. Yep. So nutrient management, to define that a little bit, is the nutrient management cycle is how farmers decide how much fertilizer to apply for their crops. So typically they're going to go out every several years and sample the soil. So take a collection of it, send it off to a laboratory. The laboratory analyzes it. And then when the results get back, they figure out, depending on like what the nutrient levels are in the soil, how much fertilizer do we need to apply on the field, and then we apply it. So the idea is to maintain a healthy growing crop, but not over apply, because that's both expensive and not healthy for the environment. So having an accurate test and an accurate understanding of what's in the soil is extremely important. So where Radical comes in is, instead of sending it off to a commercial laboratory, we have this fully automated box, 8x10 giant box, which is the lab itself. So you can just put your soil into the lab and it analyzes it in less than 15 minutes. So pretty quick turnaround, and a lot more accurate and repeatability, because we're revolutionizing some of the processes that have been used in the commercial laboratory.
Well, amazing. That sounds really amazing. All kinds of farms and all kinds of crops, or
Yeah.
are there any
Right now we've been focused on corn and soybeans because we're central Illinois, and that's the easiest place to start. But really, soil fertility and nutrient management is important for all crops all over the place. So this year we're going to have our first international labs in Brazil and South Africa to start with, and then we have several more planned for Europe and more in South America. So excited to get the international market kicked off, because internationally, there's even less access to soil labs. So it can be much more expensive and harder to access to send those soil samples off to get results. So there, and then as well as in like developing countries where they're trying to start a new farming operation, I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for that. So there's going to be a lot of different use cases and opportunities for the lab.
Are there any existing challenges still with the innovation itself, or maybe this connects directly with like what next?
Yeah.
For the product, right? Yeah, or what's in the pipeline? Or
So we have the technology to analyze the sample and get really consistent, repeatable results. One of the challenges is figuring out, okay, here's your results. How much do you apply? And so right now we're doing some pretty extensive testing, and these are like year after year trials where We're looking at, okay, this is what the soil fertility level was, and then this is what the yield response, how the yield responded. So you make this plot that has all these different levels of fertility, and then you take it to yield, and then you analyze the results. But this takes years, and then say 1 year's dry and 1 year's wet, and so then the soil responds differently, and it's different across different climates and different soil types. So we're trying to build this great big database so that then when you get the results out of it, you're like, all right, this is what I do with the results. So that side of things is a work in progress, and one of our challenges of like, we don't want to just be a tool. We want to also help farmers like, okay, here's what you do with this tool. Here's what you do with the results.
Yeah.
So we want to be the full process, helping them all the way through it.
Right. And you also continue to farm. Is that correct? Or rather, your husband farms. Like, tell us a little bit about his farm and you farming, or you both farming together.
Yeah, so he farms with his dad, and I kind of try to stay out of it. They've got their own process figured out. And I keep pretty busy at work as well, but I do help out whenever I have time afterwards. And that is the hope someday, to farm full time with him. So I love getting to hop in the tractor or work ground, or just hang out with whatever they're doing around the shop when I have a free day and get the chance.
Yeah, a little bit about the farm. How big is it, and what's being farmed again?
Yeah. So, my husband's farm is a little under 1,000 acres, corn, soybeans, and then they have about a 40 head cow calf operation. So, a little bit on the smaller side for central Illinois. But what's really cool is, so my family farm is, quite a bit, my brothers are quite a bit larger than that. So it's been really fun to compare the way my brothers are more of like a cutting edge, more ready to adopt newer technology, but they also have a larger operation, and it's easier to justify larger purchases. My husband's farm is a little smaller and a little bit behind the innovation curve when it comes to technology, more of a slower or later adopter, more of a traditional farm. So it's been fun to see how they react to different ag tech things that come out as different innovations, and how they make it work, or when it doesn't work for their farm. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And it gets to the discussion a little bit about farmers and adopting new innovations and so forth, or ag tech. What are you seeing out there? Are more farmers very open, or even seeking out ag tech, or where are we with that?
Yeah.
Or how are we connecting or communicating both sides?
Yeah. I'd say absolutely. Like, technology, I'm used to planners. So like specifically planner technology, it's becoming a lot more mainstream. So it's getting to the point where it's like electric drive, e-drive delta force, hydraulic downforce type of stuff. Those are more mainstream. They're more common to have on their planners. However, for example, my husband came up just again recently. So he would love to have hydraulic downforce on his planner. Or he would love to adopt different innovations such as strip tilling. However, the tractor that he's currently using for some of those operations, his planter tractor, is not large enough to handle the hydraulic capacity for vacuum and hydraulic downforce. And it's not the right tractor, or they don't have the right equipment to go to strip till. And so to buy new equipment, a new tractor, to adopt a new farming practice, or to add a new piece of technology onto their planner, starts to look really expensive. So now they're not just justifying the cost of the strip till bar or the hydraulic downforce. They're like, how do I make that pay with a tractor as well? So they just don't have the cash flow for that type of thing. It's harder to make that pay. So I think eventually they'll get there. It's just a lot harder for a smaller family farm to make it versus a larger, also a family farm like my brother's. So
Yeah. I mean, the other part
I think
about,
that's just something to keep in mind as we look at ag policies, or encouraging farmers to adopt new technologies or practices. Is not every practice is as easy as just, oh, throw this on your planner, or try a new practice. It takes time and money to convert to different practices to put new technology on the planter. And sometimes that cost can't easily be calculated or looks really different for each farm.
Yeah, it is different for every farm. What I'm hearing is it could take, it's a process, correct? It
Yeah,
takes much longer.
absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely.
Your experience, or rather growing up on a farm, and also now your husband has a farm as well, and he's farming. Um, give some examples about how it's helped you to work in your current position. Job.
Yeah, great question. So, I think it's really important to stay in touch with what the farming side of things looks like, what the farmers are feeling, what the farmers are thinking when you're working on the more commercial side of agriculture. So, for example, when I'm in the sales meetings, when I'm in the commercial strategy meetings, I'm able to sometimes like talk to my husband afterwards, be like, hey, what would you think about this? Or what would you think about that? Does that make sense for your operation? We can like talk through what that looks like. Or just having a little bit more idea of the challenges that they're facing, being
Mm-hmm.
able to bring that farmer, what the farmers are dealing with to the commercial table has been really helpful for the team. It's also, I would say, having the experience working at the dealership has also really helped me when I'm talking to dealerships. Sorry, when I'm talking to dealers,
Mm-hmm.
I know the terminology, I know the lingo, I've been in the field. And so then that builds more trust and rapport when I'm talking to the dealers that I'm working with.
Shifting a little bit, share a little bit about your experience as a woman working in agriculture. What have been some of the challenges or maybe adventures in that? And you also come from a family where you're three brothers, correct?
Yeah,
Is that like an advantage then? I mean,
my brothers are some of my biggest critics. It has taken a long time to win them over. Um, but yeah, so it's definitely a challenge, but it's been really rewarding and really fun. So I would say that when I started at the dealership, when I started working in agriculture, I can't thank my mentor, my boss, enough for how much he taught me. He was so patient and understanding with me when I didn't know what things were, when I didn't know how different things worked. Because even though I had grown up on a farm, there was a lot of different mechanical things, a lot of different operational things I didn't know. I didn't have that background and experience. So he was so patient with me in that. But also, I would say that just being a woman in agriculture, when you get out in front of the customer and try to help them, you get a lot of skepticism. So, in my role in product support, one of the things we do is we answer the phones. We're like a phone support line when guys are in the field and having issues. And so many times I would pick up the phone and be like, hello, this is product support. And I would hear immediately they would be skeptical. They'd be like, I don't know if I pressed the right number, or I don't know if you could help me. And they just weren't confident in a way that I know the rest of the team didn't get. Just because they heard a female voice, and I was the first female voice on the team. So it was the first time they had heard that when they called into our product support. But for me, that was such a fun challenge because by that point, I knew the product and I knew I was able to troubleshoot it. So it was like, all right, what can I help you with? And in my head, I'm like, bring it on. I'll solve this for you. I know you don't believe me now, but by the end of the phone call, we will. And so, yeah, I would say like that's been a fun adventure. But in the end, like I'm to a point now where the dealers and the customers that call in, even if I do get some skepticism at the beginning, by the end of it, we're friends. I've made I've made them a believer, and then we've overcome that. So.
yeah, I'm wondering, are you seeing more women, maybe younger women, getting into agriculture? As you mentioned, the equipment side of things as well, right? Like farm operation side. I do know some young women who are interested in that, but still not a lot of women in that area,
Yeah.
right? What would it take, you think?
Yeah. I think that the way to make women in agriculture more common is to be a woman in agriculture. So it's just, we've got to keep doing it. I am not the only woman on the product support team anymore. So I did have another girl join the team, which is really awesome. But in the end, like, agriculture still is a male dominated field. And that is a challenge. I don't know about other people, but for me, like, my upbringing was more of like a traditional conservative type of family. And so, like, the expectation was not that I was working in the shop, especially when I have three brothers that are all managing the farm. So I wasn't given the opportunity to help with the farming operation, like my brothers were. The cool thing is, though, I found a different place to learn that stuff, and I loved it. So if you don't have the opportunities in front of you, like, go find them. If agriculture is what you love, find the spot for you. And where I work now, the Precision Planting family has been so supportive and so kind, and has never made me feel inferior because I'm a woman. So there's places out there. You just might have to work to find them.
Yeah. Value your perspective and opinion, Wendy, a bit about ag tech and its future, and current. How is it, or is it tackling? There's two big issues here. One is climate change, and how is that working specifically? And the second one would be food production. I mean, we're looking at of course, a rising population, maybe up to 10 billion in 2050. So where does ag tech play a role in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that ag tech can, number one, help us overcome some of the challenges that we're facing with climate change. So to get specific with an example, if we have technology that's able to help us go faster and be more efficient when we're in our planting season, when we face climate change issues like a smaller time frame that the weather is actually fit to plant, we can still get the crops in the ground. And that's just one small example. Or different technology to overcome some of the field conditions or climate conditions. Whether that's different genetics or just different technology to manage ground conditions, and even on the soil testing side of things to help us still make better decisions with the information that we have. And then also when it comes to feeding a growing world population, I think we have to continue to rely on ag technology. So using the resources that we have the most efficiently and the most effectively that we can, whether that's planting every seed in the best spot, or whether that's using the fertilizer that we have to apply it most effectively in each spot of the field. So we have to use the resources we have carefully and efficiently so that we can continue to produce enough crops to feed the world's population.
Okay, wonderful. I think you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I want to hear more about that. What are some of your ultimate dreams? I think you mentioned having a farm, your own farm, maybe, or farm.
Yeah, I would love to farm with my husband full time in the future at some point. He's an only child, so there's not really anybody else in the picture other than him and me in the future, which sounds really fun for me. And I want to keep educating on agriculture and ag tech because I think it's such a cool field. There's so many different jobs available in it, and I think it's really easy for people who are not in agriculture to misunderstand or make generalizations and assume there's not all the careers, all the awesome jobs that there are. So I always want to be an advocate for agriculture.
And what can you be found doing? What are when you're not on the farm or not working in the area of ag tech? What are a couple of your passions and your hobbies or joyful distractions?
Most of my hobbies include farming in some way, shape, or form, but mostly gardening. I love growing flowers and planting things, growing things. So especially with springtime being around, I'm growing little seedlings, little baby plants. So anytime I can be outside, I'll take that opportunity.
Thank you. And Wendy, one more is switching back to soil innovation. What is your own, farmers are really facing a great challenge. The amount of farmable, arable soil is really declining and deteriorating. There's less and less of that. What is your own outlook for soil health, going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited about what Radicle and just other companies are bringing to the soil, nutrient and soil health industry. So we need to be better able to understand what's in our soil and how our soil helps feed our plants. So it's an area that I think so often farmers and the industry has just taken for granted, or there hasn't been a lot of research in it. So I think it's time to understand, all right, how does this soil use the nutrients that are available, mineralize and make more nutrients available? How do I find out what's in my soil and then figure out what I need to do to utilize the soil best? So we wouldn't be here without all of the awesome soil under all of our feet. And we need to be able to understand that and understand how it works.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Wendy, for your time and sharing your story with us, and also your career as well. And I'm going to sign off until the next episode. Please check out my new podcast, Women Innovators in Food and Farming. Thank you very much, Wendy.
Thank you, Amy.